everyone, welcome back in another video. Today date is 15th of November 2022 and in our today's video we are going to see a communication in between parent component and class and child component. So in this video we are cover this point in which we are see how the data can transfer from parent component to the child component. Okay. So firstly we see why we need to transfer data from one component to another component, or we have to see first of all why we need a multiple component in one project. Suppose when we are going to create any Angular project, that time there was initially one component is present. If we are going to write multiple things in one component, that means it might be a jumble, because if there was a line of code or the size of code is bigger, so that time there was a different kind of methods or different kind of function are present in one website. Suppose there are multiple functions like login, or the forward password, or for game for the data for new users. So there was a different multiple things are there. So those things contain a different business logic and different their UI faces. So for the our flexibility, we are going to create a multiple component for those each and every process. That's why we can easily identify the error or problem occur at the runtime or compile time. That means if any problem is occur, that time we only identify the particular component and we get easily capture that error or bug from our code, and we can make easy to understand code, read code and rewrite those code. And again, by using the multiple component, we are achieving the property of inheritance. That means we can easily reuse the code which are present or which are already present in our another components. Okay, so firstly we have to check how to create a component. So for creating a component, we have to go to our console, and that time we have to pass one command. So this command is like ngg a component name. So here ng means Angular project, then G means generate, C stands for component, and then next one is their name of that particular component. We can take user as a component. So we can write as ngg and user. After the passing enter, we are get the direct component on our Angular frame. So there is a two components present. First one, that our app component which are inbuilt, and that component containing a different files like app.component.html, app.component.css, app.component.spec, app.component.ts. So within those folders they have their particular work or particular use regards their working. In our app.component.ts we are going to write our business logic by using a TypeScript, and in our app.component.html we are going to write the skeleton or structure of our UI, and in our app.component.css we are going to write the css or which parameter are improving our aesthetic of our UI, like color, shape of buttons, background color, font of color, then margin, padding. All those parameters comes under the css that we are written in our app.component.css file. Then next one is our app.component.spec file. That spec file is basically used for a testing purpose. Okay, so these components, these files already present in our app.component file, app component, and now we are creating one more component as a user. So that user component also containing those those four files which we are now discussed. So both of those are containing those files. Now we have to achieve the relation between the parent to child. That means we are going to transfer the data from parent component to the child component. So for that we have to do some steps. We can see all those steps one by one. So suppose firstly we have to create some data within our parent component. So our parent component is app component. So within app component we have to create first one data or feed some data within that component file. That's why we are open our app.component.ts file, and within that ts file we have to write some data. Suppose I can write as the string name as a Vaibhav, or we can write a string name as a Bruce. Okay, so that Bruce is our now data which is present in our app.ts file, and then we have to create the connection between our parent component and child component. So our child component is our user component. So within that user component, it also containing those all four folders. From user component, we are going into that business logic folder. That is our user.component.ts file, and within that file we get the one of the code which are depend all those things. That means there is the selector is present in our ts file. We get the selector, so we can write selector as app hyphen and the name of that particular component. So that is app hyphen and user. We get the selector from our user.component.ts, and we are writing that selector into the HTML of our app.component.html file. So that means we are making a connection between our child component and parent component. So for creating that connection, we have to simply write a tag of selector in our app.html file. So syntax for writing that is like a open bracket of open tag of app hyphen and the name of that component, that is user, and the closing tag of backward slash, and then and after that add that user. So that is the one more our closing tag is there. So now we have to create the data. We have to now transfer the data from our parent component to the our child component. So that time we have to bind the data from our user, that from our parent component. Okay, so data is, now we are written data in form of data as the string data string Bruce. So Bruce is a string, and we can compile those data within a one binded form. We can write that binding form in our HTML file between those open and close tag which we are get from the our user.ts file. That is our selector. So we can write that binding between that selector. So we can write, suppose we can write anything, that there is not parameter for writing anything. We can, suppose we write a hero, and a hero can bind it by using a square bracket. So it is written between two, it is written between our two selectors, that is a hero. So now data get binded. We create the data in our app.ts file, then that data is binded in our app.html file, and we can make connection between our app.html file to the our user.file. So now we have to get data. So there was our parent work is done. That means parent can insert the data and make a connection between parent to child. Now we have to fetch the data in child. So that time we are going to import data from parent. That's why we have to initially use a import command for get the data from parent. Now we have to go in our user.component.ts file, and within that ts file we have to import the our component by using import keyword, and after that using import keyword we have to write annotation for import. So that time we can directly write the annotation and add the rate import, then parenthesis. After that parenthesis we have to pass the name, pass that variable name or pass that binded name which we are written in our app.html file. So that we have to write a similar name. We can write that name in our in our app.html file. We can write name as a hero, and we have to write the same name in our user.ts file as an input. So now we get the input from our parent to the child. Now we have to display that name on our UI. For displaying that name on UI, we have to write something in our user.html file. So we can get the data from, we can easily get the data from user.ts to user.html by calling the data from their business logic. For write that, we can simply write, suppose we are write between the h1 tag, that is heading tag. Between the heading tag, we call the data from ts class, from ts component. For that, we can simply write the open h1 tag, then two curly braces are there. Between that two curly braces, we can write the particular name of that particular data which are get from our parent, the annotation for that particular name. So after that, the close curly braces and close the tag of h1. When we are hit the URL on our localhost 4022, on our 4200, on localhost 4200, when we are going to hit that URL, we directly saw the output which are written in parent class, and that output is present in our child class by transferring the data from our parent class to the child class. So this is the process to transfer data from parent class to child class. In our next video, we are going to see how to transfer data from child class to parent class. So this is overall about communication in between parent class to the child class. Thank you.